Started. I've got 3 o'clock. Looks like we've got ample board members. So at this time, I'm going to call to order the January 27th, 2021 meeting of the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District Board. At this time, I'll ask actually, I'm going to go ahead and read this statement. In accordance with Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2020-7, the COVID-19 Executive Order number 5, which temporarily suspends the requirement of the Illinois Open Meetings Act requiring in-person attendance by members of a public body. This meeting will be held as a virtual meeting using a virtual meeting platform. Our meeting is streamed live on YouTube, accessible in 2 ways. I'm not even going to try to read that. It's also on the MTD's website, which is mtd.org/inside/board/meetings/2021-January-27-2021. The video and audio will also be posted on the website, mtd.org, after the meeting. Since the board meeting will not be open to the public due to the Governor Pritzker's social distancing requirements, comments may be emailed to public@mtd.org. That is public@mtd.org. They will be read aloud in the audience participation portion of the meeting in the order that they were received. Email submissions will be accepted until the time reserved for audience participation is over. Each comment will be limited to 5 minutes. With that, I'll ask the board clerk to call roll.
Barnes.
Here.
Chaplin. Here. Delgado.
Here.
Fasella. Hannon.
Here.
Nudo.
Here.
Dial.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Our first item is our approval of our agenda for today's meeting. If we can review that, and I'll ask for a motion second from the board.
Brad,
Yes.
don't you want to welcome the new member?
We're going to get to that, Bruce. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
I move that the agenda be approved as distributed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for today's meeting. We'll have a roll call, please.
Barnes.
Yes.
Chaplin.
Yes.
Delgado.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Our next item is audience participation. Beth.
Mr. Chair, we have received no emails.
No emails, okay. Next item will be approval of board meeting minutes from the open session of December 9th, 2020. If you take a moment to review those, again, ask for a motion in a second.
I move the minutes be approved as distributed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the December 9th, 2020 open session board meeting minutes. Roll call.
Barnes.
Yes.
Chaplin. Delgado.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion also carries. Communications. First, I want to congratulate Bruce Hannon on his reappointment to the Mass Transit District Board. I believe this will be Bruce's second term. So congratulations on that. And we also want to welcome Alan Nudo to the board. Alan's a longtime community member and community advocate. And Alan, if you've got anything that you would like to comment on, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Right now, you guys are going to have to teach me a lot in a short period of time. I appreciate all the efforts that we had last week with Carl. He took me through the facilities and walked me through a little bit about how MTD works. I've got a long way to go, so thank you.
Well, congratulations on your appointment. You do have some very large shoes to fill. Linda Bauer was a tremendous board member, and we appreciate her service, and I'm sure you will do an excellent job. So thank you for committing yourself to it. Any other communications for the board, Carl?
No, I don't have any.
All right. Board, any board members have anything that they would like to communicate at this point? Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to the managing director's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. This month, since we had a combined November and December board meeting, this month we are reporting on both November and December statistics, but I am only going to go through the January portion. If any of the trustees have questions regarding the December portion, it is in your board packet and I am happy to go back and revisit it. But for expediency's sake, I'm just going to go with the most recent data that we have for December. So December, our ridership was down 87% when compared to December of 2019. And I probably don't need to remind you that we are in the midst of a pandemic and that is having significant impacts on our society as a whole and MTD ridership in particular. So we are in good company with the rest of the world, but it is continuing to whack us at the knees and cripple us, but we're getting by. We did get, as you know, funding through CARES, and we did get some additional funding through the CRISA Act that was approved in December, and so that is helping us make up the difference of no fare collection and lost revenues. Moving on to revenues, December of 2020 operating revenue was 16.5% below December of 2019. And while that is significant, again, that's not taking into consideration the CARES funding. So that really isn't as bad as it could be. And it's not as bad as many other systems across the country are experiencing. And that primarily is because we have such great relationships with our partners in this community that we have contract services with. And so we've been able to work with them and continue to have a revenue stream there. The December operating expenses were 2.7% below December 2019. So that is a testament to hard work and diligence of staff and all of our coworkers and working really hard and not expanding our expenses when our revenues are down. The year-to-date revenues and expenses, the operating revenues are $688,000 below budget. But really significantly, the operating expenses are $3.9 million under budget. So that's really critical. And some of that is just because we have reduced levels of service. And so, of course, we have fewer expenses. We're not buying as much fuel and that kind of thing. But again, some of that is just diligence with the staff. And with that, I've got a variety of notes in the board packet. Hopefully you've had a chance to peek at. And the only thing that I want to mention that isn't in those notes is that last Thursday, the U of I Board of Trustees voted on and approved the new student transportation fee for next year. And so that will raise to $68. It's $62 currently. And I should caveat that they're not actually charging $62 because of the reduction in student fees, again, related to COVID-19. But contractually, the student transportation fee this semester is $62. And next year it'll be going up to $68. That primarily is to cover the cost of a brand new route that we will be launching in August of 2021 at the request of the university, that will connect the engineering quad and the Siebel Center for Design and Research Park. And that new route will be called The Link. And that will launch in August. So that's exciting. And with that, I will answer any questions that you may have through page 71.
Questions for the managing director on his report or any of notes in our packet today? Margaret.
Bruce Hannon,
Bruce, go ahead.
Let Bruce go.
Carl.
Yes, sir.
Is that agreement with the university the way you wanted it?
Yes, and in fact, sorry, I should have added to that note that we will be bringing the agreement, the service agreement with the university to you, trustees, for consideration and approval at the February board meeting. Now that that student fee has been approved by the U of I Board of Trustees, we have negotiated the new agreement with the university. That negotiation went very smoothly. We're only making very minor changes to the agreement itself. And primarily that's the addition of this new route. And so we will be bringing that to you for consideration in February.
Margaret.
That was sort of related to the question I wanted to ask. Even though this fee is $68 or whatever, we're still operating under the reduced contract kind of thing that we negotiated recently.
That's
So
correct.
we're not going to get that money. We're going to get the
Well-
money we agreed to in the negotiated contract, renegotiated contract that we have.
The $68 would be for the fall semester. This spring semester, the negotiated rate, the set student fee rate was $62. However, they're only, but I would be challenged to come up with the exact amount. Is it $30 that they actually, sorry? $32, Amy is quietly saying. So that's the negotiated rate, and we're getting the commensurate total as related to that reduced student fee. But the $68 is for the fall. Right now, the plan is to be back to full service in the fall. I think we all have our fingers crossed on both hands. And that's what we're planning on. But if things are still, if we can't do that, then we will work hand in hand with the university to come to an appropriate level of both payment and service level.
Dick.
Yes, now that you've had a full semester to kind of look at things in the COVID era, have the route designations and so forth seem to work, or do you anticipate any alterations for this spring semester?
So the service level for the spring semester is reduced, but the route structure is not changing. We're maintaining the same routes that we did before, but the schedules are altered somewhat. Is that answering your question?
Frequency has changed a little bit.
Frequency is reduced, but the routing is the same. Yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Carl from inside or outside the room? Seeing and hearing none, we'll accept Carl's report and we'll move on to our first action item, which is election of officers for a one-year term. And according to MTD bylaws, the chair and vice chair positions are elected from the Board of Trustees for a one-year term at the first regularly scheduled board meeting after January 1st. As previously approved by the board, Jack Waller is the secretary of the board and Amy Snyder is the treasurer. These terms are indefinite until the board takes action to the contrary. I'm sorry, I'm wearing I broke my glasses last night, so I got some weird glasses on. So the chair vote goes before the vice chair. So I will open the floor for nominations for chair.
I nominate Brad Dial as chairman.
Are there any additional nominations for board chair? Any additional nominations from the board for chair? Seeing and hearing none, I will close. Hold on. Again, I have to get this in the right place here. We will now take a vote for chair on a roll call vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin, Delgado,
Yes.
Hannon,
yes,
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
I'll abstain. That motion carries. Our next position is the vice chair. I'm opening the floor for nominations for vice chair for MTD board.
I nominate Margaret.
Margaret Chaplin has been nominated. Additional nominations for board chair. Any other nominations for the vice chair position? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close nominations and we will take a roll call vote for vice chair.
Barnes,
yes,
Chaplin, Delgado,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes,
Nudo, Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Congratulations, Margaret. Our next action item is the semi-annual review of closed session minutes. So the board's attorney, Jack Waller, has taken the time to review our closed session minutes and has a suggestion as to minutes that should be removed, saved, and released, or destroyed, saved and released, I should say. So I'm just going to read this off and then we'll ask for a motion and second on it to take action. The Board of Trustees hereby determines as follows: that the minutes of the closed session meetings of the board listed attachment 1 marked release no longer require confidential treatment and are ordered released. Item B is that the need for confidentiality still exists as to the minutes of the closed session meetings of the board listed on attachment 2, marked remain confidential. And C, that the verbatim recordings of the following listed closed session minutes, attachment 3, all of which are not less than 18 months old, and the written minutes of which have been approved, are authorized to be destroyed. So you have those 3 attachments in your board packet. I'll ask for a motion and a second on this action.
so moved.
It's been moved and seconded to take action, the approved action or the suggested action on the closed session minutes. Roll call, please.
Barnes,
yes,
Chaplin,
yes,
Delgado,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes,
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, motion carries. Our next action item is a 5-year New Flyer joint bus procurement contract and purchase order for 5 40-foot diesel electric hybrid buses. Jane.
Thank you. So I'm on page 77 of your packet. For bus procurements, it's typical for a transit agency to do a 5-year contract. And it's also typical to join with other transit agencies and go through the procurement process together. So that's what we've done here. Our current 5-year contract expires in March. And so we're ready for another one. In the next 5 years, over half of our fleet will be beyond its useful life. The federally defined useful life of a bus is 12 years. So we went through this competitive procurement process with the partner agencies, through an evaluation process based on some criteria we've established and price, of course. So we're looking for approval for that 5-year contract with New Flyer. And we're also looking for approval for the first order on that contract, which would be 5 40-foot hybrids to replace 5 30-foot hybrids. These 30-foot buses are 12 years old. They all have over 400,000 miles on them. 30-foot buses also only have one door, so we have not been able to use them during the pandemic when we're doing rear door only boarding. So we'll replace them with 40 footers for now. We could add 30 footers back into our fleet in the future. But that is our plan for now. I also just want to mention, usually we come to you with a price that we're certain about, but there's a bit of a challenge here in that when you do a joint procurement like this, the proposers have to submit a base bid because that's the amount that will apply to every agency, and then through the agency and the manufacturer working through the customizations that we need and things we need changed and added, then we land on a final price. So I'm able to estimate what that's going to be based on our last procurement. And I think it's a pretty good estimate. I don't think the change will be any more than our managing director's spending authority. If it was, we would come back to you. So that's the number you see in the memo is my estimate. I think I'll stop there.
So to be clear, sorry about that. To be clear, so the base price is the 581,935, and your anticipated price based on how we would like to have our coaches built would be 680, correct?
Correct.
And then if you detail for the board who the partners are in this agreement.
Sure. I should say the agreement will be just between MTD and New Flyer, but in terms of the procurement, we partnered with Lafayette in Greater Lafayette Transit in Indiana, South Bend, the transit agency in South Bend, Indiana, the transit agency in the Quad Cities, up in Rock Island, Moline area. Who am I missing? Fort Worth.
No, Fort Wayne,
Thank you.
but they dropped out.
Yeah, I'm missing someone. No, I'm not.
Okay.
That's the list.
That's the list. Okay, cool. Any questions for Jane on this procurement contract? Seeing and hearing.
Can you remind
Bruce.
us when delivery is expected?
I can't say exactly. I think it'll be. I think we're looking late this year. We will have to get the state's approval on this contract. So we're not sure how long that will take. And then we'll have to go through the ordering process, but tentatively late this year.
Additional questions from the board on this item? Seeing and hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to enter into a 5-year bus procurement contract and purchase order with New Flyer.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this contract. Please, a roll call.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Vasella,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Our next item is a approval of a bus procurement purchase order under our existing agreement, is my understanding. And I'll ask Ms. Sullivan to explain.
Yeah, that's correct. So this would be the final order on the current 5-year contract we have with New Flyer. And it's 3 buses, 3 60-foot buses. And this is related to the state capital grant funding we received through the Rebuild Illinois program. So these 60-foot articulated hybrid buses would replace the oldest buses in our fleet, the 20-year-old 60-foot diesel buses. Let's see here. I mentioned the state grant funding. There, it ends up being about 98% funded with that state grant. We have a little bit of local funds in there. These buses would be delivered, I think, early this summer. And let's see. I think that covers it, actually. I'm happy to take questions.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Jane, what do we use 30 and 35-foot buses for?
You don't right now, right?
We aren't using, I'm sorry, we don't have any.
Well, I
30
mean, under normal.
Sure, sure. I'm
Right.
sorry. The reason I paused is because you threw me off with 35. But
Well, it says 35 in the table here.
We don't have any 35-foot buses.
Some of those
oh.
other transit agencies that are participating in the procurement with us, they do use 35-foot buses, but we don't have any 35. We only have 30, 40, and 60-foot. The 30-foot ones we have not been able to use during the pandemic, but we likely will be able to again at some point in the future. We primarily use 40 and 60.
Mhm. Well, that's what I was kind of confused about.
Yeah, yeah. And sorry, when we do use those 30, they're just on the routes that have less demand than what the other routes have. So we try to right size the form of the vehicle to the demand on the route.
Well, so this table is sort of like a generic composite table. It doesn't reflect exactly what we,
so that table that you're looking at on page
at
7.
page 78.
Yeah, on page 78, that's actually part of the previous action item. I know
Oh.
it's a little confusing. So that was part of that joint procurement. And
Okay.
that's why those 35-foot buses are in there. That's the memo to Carl from the evaluation committee going through our process and how we got to New Flyer as the award.
Okay.
So this next action item that I'm on now is just about 60-foot buses. And it's on the current New Flyer contract, so not related to that table.
And that's page 82.
Okay. Okay.
It's your
Okay.
back page.
Yeah, okay.
Question.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Question for Al.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Al?
quick question about the percentage of hybrids now in the fleet and some idea of a goal as to when they're completely hybrid or hydrogen.
Jane?
I think we're close to 95% now. We only have 9 diesel buses left, so I'm sure someone could do that math quickly, but only 9 of our 114 buses are diesels. And so 3 of them would be replaced with this action item I'm talking about now. 2 of them are going to be replaced in a couple months with our 2 fuel cell buses that are coming. So that leaves us 4. The 5 we talked about in the last action item, those are actually hybrid buses that are being replaced. So I imagine those remaining 4 could be in 2022 or so.
And those are scheduled to be replaced with hydrogen fuel cell buses. So we want to get the 2 that are on order delivered and in service so that we can have a period of time that we operate those and test them before we order new ones to replace those 4 remaining 60-foot diesel buses that we have. It's safe to say, Alan, that we have the largest percentage of hybrid buses in the country. Of any transit system, even now, not even saying when we get down to those final 4. So that's significant, and we'll never be at 100% hybrid because we're going to have those 2 hydrogen fuel cell buses before we replace the final 4 diesel. But we'll have a mix of hydrogen and hybrid then after that, which is significant.
One more question, well, actually, comment and a question. The older buses, what happens to them? Do you sell those, or where do they go, into bus heaven, or where do they go?
We used to sell our buses to other transit systems, generally in South America. But that practice has kind of fallen by the wayside over the last 15 years or so. And honestly, even if we were still doing that, these buses that we're replacing now are 20 years old, and not even Lima, Peru would be able to take these and operate them much longer than we could. I mean, we have squeezed the life out of
Wrung the life
these
out of them already, yeah.
guys. And so these will go to the scrap heap when they get replaced. They will just be recycled.
I could park one in my front yard.
Well, Bruce,
Wow.
if that's what you want.
You can have it.
Your neighbors
What-
love it.
One last comment. This goes back because I was on county board ending 2012, but the smaller buses, the 30 and 40s, you know, I'm sure this has been discussed over the years that some of the maneuverability in the suburbs here, Lincolnshire Fields, et cetera, with winding roads, et cetera, they were much more maneuverable in the smaller ones, and obviously had less participation there too. So is that what they're used for now?
Yeah, pre-pandemic, that's what they were used for. Yes. Yeah, those are the areas that the demand is lighter. And then, yeah, you're right. I didn't mention that, but the navigability of some of those neighborhoods, the smaller the vehicle, the easier it is to navigate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Any additional questions on this item? So I'm going to throw you a little curveball. Going back, so the price on these equipped as we want them is $1,003,423. If we go back to our previous item, when we have the pricing on the new 60 footers, we have a base price on there of $923,899. Do you have an anticipated, as we would choose to have them equipped, price for the 60 footers at this point? Is it going to be similar to this number, or is it going to be,
I would guess
is there a big difference between, I guess, is there a big difference between the base price on the new contract as opposed to the old contract?
there's not a huge difference.
Okay. All right.
Especially, there's more of a difference between the base price that was submitted with the bid 5 years ago, but they adjust it by PPI every year when we place an order. So this price we're looking at here is adjusted.
Okay. All right. Additional comment on this item? Seeing and hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the bus procurement for the current contract.
So moved.
Take his motion, I'll second.
All right, Bruce is the motion, Margaret's second. We'll be taking a roll call on purchasing 3 60-foot hybrid buses.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin, Delgado,
Yes.
Vasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. That was our last action item for today's meeting. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be Wednesday, February 24th, 2021 at 3 o'clock. We'll again be certainly meeting virtually and in person for those who wish to come. At this time, we will be adjourning to closed session to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a public official, immediately followed by adjournment. I'd like a motion and a second to take that action.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to move to closed session, followed immediately by adjournment. Roll call, please.
I think we need to read the verbiage that's on the agenda. Did you already do that? You did, didn't you? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin, Delgado,
Yes.
Vasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yes.
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll take 5 minutes and we'll move into closed session.
And Fred, you of course can stay on as well.
Well, thank you, Carl.
Well, I need you to take minutes.
Rest of you.